Hey guys, so this is what if Deku had the powers of Dino Squad, part, what was it? Part 6. No, part 5. Sorry guys. Part 5. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's just dive right into it. After this video, I will be starting to record, or I eventually will upload What If Super Rules of Power Ranger Part 2. I'm really excited for that. And after that, I'll be uploading my next couple what ifs I have, set up for that. Now, this week, I will, or like probably next month, I will be uploading episode 2 of Time Wars. It will at least be 10 or at least 11 minutes long, maybe 9. And basically, it'll be a little bit better put together than Time Wars episode 1. But guys, let's just dive right into it because my new resolution this year is to make a little bit more stop motions and dive more into my action figure part of my channel. But yeah, let's just get into it, guys. Now, start our story off last time where we saw Deku almost hit Bakugo in a coffin, but basically after we skip there and pretty much after Deku and Bakugo get medical attention and stuff like that, we skip a couple days later, or a day later, don't really know the specifics. We get skipped to the hero name episode, where we see our heroes pick out their names. As they're picking out their names, the episode goes similar the same. Deku thinking about how he's gonna pick out his name, and also thinking about the internships he's got as well. Deku got a pretty good amount of internships, and had a really good internships. Now he was thinking about the internship and he was thinking about the internship that was from a different a different type of, it was an internship from a hero company, but a hero company that mainly specialized with mutation or transformation quirks that wanted to pretty much help people harness their abilities better, and also was very known for its pretty much transformation and mutation super um quirk suits, or just quirk tools and gadgets and stuff like that mainly helped and mainly was designed to help, and pretty much mainly designed to help and focus the powers of mutation and transformation quirk users. Basically, Deku put more interest in this internship than his other ones. He got some from Endeavor and some from other places as well. Now, basically, we get skipped to pretty much the class would still be talking about their hero names. Miss Midnight pretty much asking all of them to pick out their names. Now, basically, most of the students would pick out the same names, but Deku would have came up with a name. He wouldn't use his Deku name because, he didn't want to use that name. And in this canon, Ochaku would have not said that was cute, but would have hinted to it, but Deku would have not gotten onto it. Now, pretty much, Ochaku would have told Deku, are you okay? And Deku would have said, yeah, I'm good. Basically, he would have looked at the paper or the board and basically would have said that I got the perfect name. Now, basically, as he wrote it down, Miss Midnight said he showed to the class, and he picked up the board and it read, not Deku, it read, Reptile. Basically, Midnight said, why do you want to be called Reptile? Basically, Deku would go on about how Reptilian or Reptile was a little bit of a knick-knack, a pro hero that used to have a similar quirk to mine, or had a nickname like that. And I wanted to use that. The pro hero recently passed away a month ago, and I just wanted to take on his nickname. Not his actual pro hero name, but his nickname. Basically, I would say it's kind of fitting with your power set. And, pretty good. Why not just be called Reptilian? Kind of has a little bit of a good ending to the word. But Deku would have said, nah, I'm good with Reptile. Now, basically, pretty much after that, Miss Midnight would say his name was pretty good, and it was actually a pretty solid hero name. Sorry, a pretty solid hero name. Basically, after that, the rest of the students would give out the same, thing. And the episode would go similar the same. After that, we'll get skip to pretty much, well, the internships. Now, Deku's internship would go would go completely different since he wouldn't be really good friends or wouldn't be connected to All Might. He would not be trained by, well, that hero. Basically, we would get skipped to him being trained by a different type of hero, somebody different, somebody not, well, a different type of hero from the, well, mutations or or pretty much, what was it, transformation quirk academy, or just a hero agency that mainly had most mut- mutant and mutation quirks. And basically, we would see that Deku would have gone there, and basically, when he got there with his bags and stuff like that, he was introduced to a pro hero called, what was it, called Fox. Basically, Fox had the ability, or just was, just had the ability of a fox. Increased senses, smell, and also some sort of agility and like Daredevil levels of hearing, and also had a type of, well, claw power. So basically, he can basically elongate his claws to about katana length or 6 inches, or even just a toothpick or just normal size claws. Basically, and also he would have a humanoid fox physique, kind of like the fox guy from Subtopia, but a lot more taller and like a human proportions, and a little bit more muscular too. But basically, we would see that he would have told Deku, that I'm gonna be your trainer, or well, I'm gonna be your assistant, not assistant, a squatter, and teach you the ropes. Basically, what they would do, they would train Deku physically and try to hone on to his, well, speed and quickness to transform and to get into a fighting position and to protect himself at all times, to be ready for everything. Over time, they would do this and they would trick Deku sometimes, even have some fun time. But eventually, Deku would have got some tips and trainers, or tips and pointers. Sorry, I can't talk right now. Tips and pointers. After that, we will see that Deku would have used most of his, well, a time there honing on to new skills, and one of these new skills would be basically, well, it's basically creativity with his humanoid dinosaur forms. Basically, his humanoid dinosaur forms would be a lot more creative, and they would have wanted to give Deku a little bit more of an edge. So they gave Deku, well, a suit, a new suit that would replace his old one. His old one was good, but it was mainly, for me, just a little bit too much like the original suit, like in canon. And also, I just wanted him to have this suit. It looked a lot more better. His suit would look somewhat like Reptile's suit from Marvel Comics, or exactly like this, basically, but with fingerless green gloves. Basically, these fingerless green gloves would be made out of a certain fabric that would pretty much evaporate into Deku's skin when he transforms his arms or his body, and that would go for the rest of the suit as well. The boots would also just compress into the skin as well. So basically, his suit would basically just evaporate away into his body when he transformed. Meaning that, in his original suit, it did the same type of thing, but this one does a lot more faster and quicker. Also, the suit gem gives Deku a little bit more of edge, since the suit is, made out of a smart nanotech fabric that basically moves and matches with Deku's physical body and transforms with him. It basically manifests some of its access parts into clothing or armor with the help of the gem. The gem is just a modified or unstable form of energy that most pro heroes use in their suits, but this was sharded a sharded piece of one of those suits that basically belonged to a recent pro hero that passed away like a year ago. And basically, what it would do is pretty much it would manifest enough energy for the suit to, well, elongate itself to make armor, weapons, and swords with Deku's pretty much humanoid transformations. Meaning that every time Deku would transform to humanoid animal transformation, other than his original ones, they would be given a sword, armor, or just a sword, a weapon, anything, just a piece of clothing, armor, or a sword, 50-50, or just random at all times. It would never be accurate, but 50% of the time, they would get, something with a weapon or armor. So Deku would have would also have, that animal's strength and speed, plus weapons to go with that animal's strength and speed. So he'll be way more powerful than he was in canon, or way more powerful than he was now, or in part 4, or in part 3, part 2, and part 1. So basically, it would make Deku a lot more powerful and give him a little bit more of an edge, even though he already had a big edge, but still. So basically, Deku would unlock a lot more humanoid dinosaur transformations that would make him a lot more powerful. Basically, what would happen is, well, Deku would have focused and trained a lot harder. Physical body would get a little bit more muscular and a little bit more stronger, and over time, Deku, over the past couple of days, Deku would get a lot more excelled and a lot more, physically built and have a perfect body or a perfect type of physique or more perfected type of physique that he had original. He was already like Spider-Man type of levels of, you know, uh, Spider-Man levels of muscular and, acrobatic skill or near that acrobatic skill, not, at that level, but basically, well, he would have a more perfected version of Peter Parker or Spider-Man's physique. And basically, it wouldn't be too perfect, but it would be a little bit more than Spider-Man's physique. Not too much to make him bulky or too muscular, but kind of like Captain America or Daredevil type of body, a type of muscularity. And basically, you see that pretty much Deku. No, he would have a type of he would have to like Ultimate Spider-Man type of muscularity or Ultimate Spider-Man muscular. But let's just dive right into it, or dive right back into the story. Now, basically, eventually they would get, pretty much told and given the orders to pretty much, well, other students in the UA that got the internship, you know, for that school that were there, they were taken on patrol to the city, the same city Deku would go into original. As some of the students would be on a bus, basically we would hear, well, the Nomu would still attack the bus, and Deku would still, try to fight it. Now Deku would get swung out the way by Fox, and Fox would have pushed him out the window, telling him to get away and tell the other students to go. The Nomu would have fought Fox, and basically the Nomu and Fox would have started to brawl. Fox would easily get folded by the Nomu, getting slapped out of the bridge, getting slapped out of the train into another building, and then through that building into another building, and through that building into the street, knocked out cold. But still wouldn't be completely, demolished or, halfway dead. He would just be knocked out in near coma, or like being a type of coma, if you could say. And basically, we said Deku would happen falling down to the ground, and basically would have transformed into a pterodactyl, and would have flown off. As Deku was flying around, he would see the chaos in the city, and basically would eventually flown past a alleyway where he would see, well, Ida about to get marked by Slade, or I mean by, by Stain. As he would jump in and intervene, he would transform into a humanoid transformation, one of his new ones, testing out his new suit. He would transform into a mixture of a lizard, a T-Rex, and a Stegosaurus, or a Bronchosaurus. I don't remember the dinosaur's name that has the 3 horns and the type of, I don't know, shield for a head. Basically, Deku transformed into a mixture of dinosaurs, giving him more of a let's just say kind of a strength level of this creature or this transformation, it will be the same strength level as Captain America. Basically, it having armor that would be, you know, made out of a type of with copper or steel type of mixture, and also would have had a sword, a silver sword, or just a sword that pretty much just a normal, average, very well built sword. Basically, the armor being pretty, pretty powerful, but not being so powerful to a point where people can't cut through it. People can't cut through its armor. That's what it's supposed to do, stop from getting cut or stabbed. But basically, you see that pretty much Daku would have gotten up, and this transformation would have had a little bit more durability on it since it would have a lot of scaling plus the armor, so it would be mainly built for durability and fat and pretty much very, skillful and fast, attacks. Basically, more of a soldier type of body or soldier type of transformation. As Deku would do this, he would sprint towards Stain, and Stain would have dodged most of Deku's attacks. Deku would have got a nice or pretty much a good hit with his sword into Stain's stomach, and Stain would have been pushed back. Stain would have gotten up and would have stopped his bleeding by wrapping his red scarf around it, and would have sprinted right back at Deku. Deku and him would have started to brawl out a little bit more faster, a little bit more cuttier, and Deku would be cutting the edges way close, basically staying missing Deku's skin or missing Deku's blood by a literal second. Like if Deku was slow enough, or Deku just stopped for a split second, he would get stabbed, cut, or maybe just decapitated, because they were fighting with their swords at like Batman and like League of Shadows level of sword fighting. Like they were going all out. You can hear the swoosh and swing through their swords. Basically, you could hear the friction that their swords were cutting through the air. It was a bunch of metal clanking, and just everything was going around. They were going full on anime sword fight. Basically, they were throwing hands as well into the mix of the sword fighting, and basically, eventually, Stain would have gotten a cut off of Deku's body, but it would have not been blood. It would just be cut into into scaling, not reaching Deku's blood. Stain would be confused because he knew he cut Deku's skin area, but basically, Deku looked at him and said, this body is more built for durability. It's going to be a lot harder for you to get any blood off of my body. And why do you even need my blood? Basically, Deku would have noticed that Ida would have been whispering something, and he would have focused on Ida, and Ida would have started to tell him about his power, something about his blood, and don't let him lick you. Deku would have noticed this and said, why didn't you tell me earlier? Ida would have said, you weren't really, getting cut. Basically, Deku said, valid point. He would take his sword out again, because he did sheath it for a second. He would take his sword out and would start to fight Stain a little bit more. Eventually, Pro Heroes would have showed up after the Nomu situation was dialed down a little bit more, but would have not been completely done over with. Deku would have started to fight Stain, and pretty much they would have started to fight. Eventually, pretty much Todoroki would have shown up, and he would have stopped, or he would have started to help them fight. Todoroki would have been using most of all of his ice, and he would have almost get cut or taken down by Stain. Deku would jump in and kick Stain through a building, or kick Stain through pretty much the alleyway building they were next to, into another building, and into another alleyway, him being knocked out cold and just, coughing up blood. Or him just coughing up blood in his sleep, and him almost about to drown in his own blood. Deku and the rest of the students would have got over there and help Stain and not let him die, and the rest of the pro heroes would show up to put him in custody. Now the police would have still told Deku and the students to give most of the credit to the pro heroes, since they don't want them to go to jail because they don't have their hero license, and they stopped a villain by themselves, and they most likely would go to jail for not doing hero business without a hero's license. So basically, Deku would have been very well, pleased with the suit. Basically, the suit gave him a little bit more of an edge with his transformations and gave him a little bit more, you know, power. Basically, after that, we will see that pretty much, well, was it after that? After, the stain, after, the stain fighting? Basically, after Deku was Stain, after Stain was pinned to custody, it was locked up, it would basically get switched to pretty much something else, a little bit more interesting. Somewhere deep away in his League of Villains, it was the Shigaraki pretty much overseeing overseeing what was happening at the location where they were testing on the reptilian or testing on the pretty much, well, whatever it was called. Basically, what happened is later on in this canon, Stain was actually been hired by Shigaraki or told by Shigaraki to just get the kid's blood, but not use it, don't lick it. Basically, tell him to get the kid's blood and to pretty much, well, give it to them. And basically, as they're fighting in the alleyway, or in the alleyway, basically you see that Deku would have noticed or would have felt something, but he would have just brushed it off because he was more busy not getting stabbed by the sword or the knife or the swords, because Stain was actually using two swords to fight Deku. Basically, you see that pretty much, well, Stain would have actually been able to cut Deku a slight little bit, and would have used that blade that had the blood to throw it onto a wall and pretty much keep on fighting Deku. Basically, what would happen is Shigaraki, he would have showed up to the alleyway after the alleyway was stopped, investigating, or they just left the alleyway. We would see that he would take the knife from the alleyway, and basically would look at the blood, seeing that it was still kind of wet and intact. So he immediately took it to pretty much the, well, scientists that were working or that were experimenting or trying to progress their, progression of making the serum, or the same stuff that gave Deku his abilities. Basically, Kirishi, Sugar, Sugar, ah, Kirigiri. Sorry, guys, I forgot his name so quickly. Sorry, guys. Kirigiri would have told them to take this blood and to, well, do something with it. Deku's blood carries most of his abilities. So what they would do is they would, you know, reverse engineer the blood, trying to figure out, what was in Deku's body that could help them, progress and make the serum better, or try to make the serum but modify it, if you could say. And they would be succeeding this. They would succeed at this, and they would have made a modified version of it. Basically, this modified version of it would have the same base abilities Deku would have, but would have gave the user full and complete access with no limitations. Because Deku over time gets a little bit tired with his transformations, so he can only hold them for so long. But basically, this serum gives the user unlimited power and can also, well, let them stay in their dinosaur or human or dinosaur forms for as long as they want. But basically, in this version of the serum, they can't transform their bodies into, complete slices of DNA of different transformations of dinosaurs, but they could use the mass of the dinosaurs, or modify the mass of dinosaurs or their transformations, like Deku did during the sports festival with the pterodactyl. So basically, they had the same abilities, but the only modifications is that they would basically have no limitation on how long they could stay in their transformations. They would be able to transform at the speed of light, meaning that it would be no transformation like, how, what was it? Dino Squad had a transformation that lasted a couple seconds. It would basically be faster than any type of second, even a millisecond. It would just be a blink, and they would just be transformed. Basically, and also on top of that, the transformations would be about, well, the dinosaur transformations would be modified to basically be 10 times stronger than the the actual, natural dinosaurs' strength, basically making them, well, better than Deku's abilities. But Deku would still have the unique part of his serum, or a unique part of his powers, is that he could perfectly splice dinosaur DNA with other dinosaur DNA plus human DNA to make a humanoid DNA form. Basically, they would know this because he did use them. He did use that ability in the sports festival, so they wanted to do that, but they knew that the serum wasn't giving off that effect. And they did test it on some people and did, vial it into a drug and was about to sell it, or was mass producing it before they started to sell it. And basically, as it was happening, they would try to modify it a little bit more to give it that same effect of DNA slicing that Deku does with his ability, but they would say it was pointless. And they needed more blood to basically, modify it, because they only made about 500 vowels already, because they were able to reverse, because, like, Deku didn't notice this, but Slate got a lot of blood off the knife he slightly cut Deku with. Basically, we will see that pretty much Deku later on, he will see that his suit would have a little bit of a cut on his thigh where Slate would cut him. He would think it was nothing since it would already be healed, it would be dry blood on his suit, but it would just, scoff it off. Now, basically, guys, sorry if the video doesn't have that much dialogue and you guys wanted part 5. So I'm sorry, guys, if it wasn't, what you expected. And part 6 will be coming probably next month or later if you guys want it. But basically, guys, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you guys like and subscribe. And just sorry, guys, I'm not myself right now. I'm kind of sick, and also, like, I stayed up most of, like, 2 days straight without sleep, so yeah, I feel like I go straight to sleep after this what if, but I am gonna record right after I wake up to record what Subaru was a Power Ranger part 2. Now, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys can subscribe, and as always, guys, have a blessed day.